India-Pakistan border a mere hours after both sides agreed to a ceasefire along the line of control and international border. The agreement, initially seen as a promising step towards peace, proved to be short-lived. Today, the situation remains calm in several parts of Jammu and Kashmir, including Jammu City, Poonch, Rajouri and Aknor. However, Amritsar has been placed under a red alert following heightened security concerns, with district authorities urging residents to stay indoors. India and Pakistan reached a rather unexpected ceasefire agreement yesterday, with Donald Trump and Marco Rubio among the first to post about it on social media. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs confirmed the deal, stating that Pakistan initiated the contact with India. There were no preconditions or post-conditions, and the Indus Water Treaty remains in abeyance, with other measures also suspended. India's position on terrorism remains unchanged. Pakistani Prime Minister, on the other hand, thanked the United States, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Qatar for their role in securing the ceasefire. However, just hours after this agreement, Pakistani troops violated the ceasefire with shelling and drone attacks in several border districts, including Barmer in Rajasthan and Baramulla in Jammu and Kashmir. In response, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri stated that the Indian armed forces are taking appropriate action to respond to these violations. Let's hear what the Foreign Secretary said.
Repeated violations of the understanding arrived at earlier this evening between the Directors General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan. This is a breach of the understanding arrived at earlier today. The armed forces are giving an adequate and appropriate response to these violations, and we take very, very serious notice of these violations.
In response, said it remains committed to the ceasefire agreement despite the violation. Pakistan also stressed its commitment to the faithful implementation of the deal. In a tragic development, a soldier guarding the Udhampur airbase was killed by a fragment from a Pakistani drone, though the drone was successfully intercepted by India's Army Air Defence. The soldier, Surendra Singh Moga, had served in the medical wing of the Indian Air Force for 14 years. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stated, "We believe that water sharing, Kashmir and all other controversial issues will be resolved through justice and a peaceful dialogue will be followed." Let's now take a look at international reactions to this ceasefire agreement. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas welcomed the ceasefire, calling it a vital step towards de-escalation. Chinese Foreign Ministry has urged both India and Pakistan to avoid escalation and express China's willingness to support efforts to maintain the ceasefire. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer also commented on the ceasefire agreement. Let's hear his remarks.
Well, you're right to say the concerning signs, and we've been engaged for some days now, trying to de-escalate, speaking to both sides, through the Foreign Secretary and his counterparts. So I'm pleased to see today that there's a ceasefire, and I think the issue now is to make that an enduring and lasting ceasefire, because this is a very concerning situation. So more positive news today with the ceasefire, but the task now is to make sure that that is enduring and it's lasting.
Meanwhile, US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce spoke on India and the Pakistan ceasefire. Let's listen in to what she said.
You know what it is? It was a beautiful partnership. This was the result of the Vice President, J.D. Vance, of course, this entire government moving through the vision and implementing the insight and vision of President Trump, along with, of course, my guy, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. It's been a long 48 hours, but this is the point of what we do. Multiple phone calls, as the Secretary's noted on his own X account, multiple phone calls at multiple levels with each government were had, certainly with the prime ministers, over this period of time, back and forth conversations, and both, again, J.D. Vance, our Vice President, and the Secretary of State, clearly making a difference for what clearly is a generational issue between Pakistan and India. So the beautiful thing is that there is a ceasefire that now exists, and we look forward to hopefully managing more conversations and having this endure?
Well, after a turbulent few hours overnight following that ceasefire agreement, of course, information continuing to come in, but it seems that there is a moment of calm, at least for now, across the line of control and international border. Joining us to discuss the latest developments is Major General Brajesh Kumar, a former Director General Infantry and a senior defence expert. Major General, thank you ever so much for being here. Of course, this is an extremely difficult time, not just for those living Jammu, Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, but also for the nation amid optimism, but also realism. Can I first get your thoughts on what unfolded overnight and what many are waking up to this morning?
Thank you for having me on the show here. See, I think initially one felt that the ceasefire was a little too premature. When India, its strategic community, is the military, had the upper hand of engagements, of an offensive started just about 72 hours ago. But having said that, it makes sense that, we stop our further pursuit of fanatics in achieving our objective. It was a bold, offensive plan, and we decided to teach our adversary a lesson or two. In that, kudos to the strategic community, the political leadership, and the military, which carefully calibrated their strike, enhancing its scope and reach with precision, deeper inside Pakistan's territory on successive nights, ensuring that no collateral damage is done, no harm is reached to the civilians, and thereby putting an ascendancy in the scheme of things and warning Pakistan to stop its machinations, knowing fully well its recalcitrance. So therefore, as I said, in our journey of pursuit to a higher economic goals, it made sense to teach our adversary, that's Pakistan, a lesson. And now, of course, with the intervention and support of whether it's US in this particular case and other friends in the international arena, we decided that hopefully this rogue state and the rogue army of Pakistan would follow suit. Or else we come back with vengeance. We have demonstrated our power, of offensive power, of managing conventional operations in the backdrop of two nuclear adversaries.
Yes.
To that extent, a job well done, and hope we continue our zeal and enthusiasm of putting Kashmir as a developed state open for tourist infrastructure and development of its people. And that is the bottom line on which the issue was played up by our adversary.
Yes, Major General, of course, we had some clear shifts, policy shifts from the Indian government yesterday, of course, following the confirmation of the ceasefire, which came into effect at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time yesterday. There was a clear comment that any terrorism moving forward implemented on and in India would be seen as an act of war. Of course, we also heard from the Ministry of External Affairs yesterday and Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri talking about a proportionate response to these further violations following that ceasefire agreement. We do wait for further information on that, which we will expect later today. But this proportionate response is a rhetoric that has been followed by India, one of de-escalation, one of response, one avoiding provocation. I'd like your opinion on why Pakistan chose to do what it did last night following that hope of the ceasefire.
If you look back into the recent history of about a decade or so, the India's response to terror have been proportionate, and every time it's been a little graded. And the present juncture is the first time which hit out targets into the hinterland of Punjab province of Pakistan. Obviously, they were the terrorist targets. They were the targets where we know known places of terror, its funding, its housing, and its training facilities. Whether it was Bhavalpur or Muridke or Sial, all these targets were carefully chosen, and the first time we find an escalation, we are hitting at targets in Pakistan. The second, when we hit, it was a precision target. There was no collateral damage. It was only to the terror and terror infrastructure which supported or which supports perpetration of issues or terrorism in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So we find that vis-a-vis Balakot a few years earlier, this time there were a proportionate enhancement that we hit deeper inside Punjab province of the terror. Even later, when Pakistan reacted on the second night on the expected line, we went deeper into doing specific targets of air defense infrastructure deeper inside Pakistan, whether it is Rahim Yar Khan or Sukkur or Jakababad. So you find that the ability to coordinate, ability to enhance and manage these in a very nice manner, the response has been good. And that's how possibly our adversaries as the Pakistan were forced into seeking a ceasefire.
Yes.
And of course, held later on by the US president and whatever. The other aspect you asked about, what happened after the ceasefire? There was some kind of a commotion or a breakthrough. I don't think there was a major issue. When you announce a ceasefire at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon to be effected from 5 o'clock, maybe the messages haven't gone across to all people. And more importantly, troops in contact, especially in the LOC, that's the Kashmir area, so difficult to disengage. It's not like switching on and off electricity or a tap through which the water goes.
Yes,
so obviously it takes a little time, and therefore it came out a little later in the midnight with the statement of the Secretary of Foreign Secretary of India, Mr. Misri, saying the ceasefire holds. So India has given its punch, and we hope that things should be reasonably and normal in our scheme of things.
Yes,
Or else.
Major General, thank you ever so much for joining us.